Good morning, guys. Welcome to SMC Radio. I'm your host, Jaloni Williams. I have a couple guests here in the studio with me today. I have Kira, Josh, Daniel, Britney, and Devorah. And we're talking about guns today. You see it everywhere, the debates about gun control, the right to bear arms, and things of that nature. We've had all of these mass, especially the last couple of years, a lot of mass shootings, killings, a lot of tragic events have occurred, and it's kind of stirring up this issue of getting guns. It's too easy to get. Should it be harder to get? Just talk about personally how we feel about the issue.
All right, so I just wanted to bring up some topics of gun control. So the way we look at gun control, we're usually trying to blame the shooter. Is guns something that we could actually control? Is it guns that we will want to ban, or is it like, do we want to ban the violence or the murder of guns? Let's start off the conversation by discussing the laws of gun control.
Well, Josh, besides how the control of guns, I think another question to be raised is how people are acquiring these guns.
All right, so Kira, how are these people getting a hold of firearms, and what are some of the particular reasons?
So basically, you can either obtain a firearm from a licensed seller or a private seller, and you usually go through a background check too before you can even purchase the gun. So it varies through different states.
I get you. So basically, I couldn't just walk into a gun store and be like, I want that gun, and then walk right out the store.
Yeah, like for example, you need to have 2 forms of ID, and you also, along with that, you need to complete federal and police forms to even purchase the gun. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can have it.
Okay, I got it. And that the criteria you just gave me, is that specific for a certain state? Or
yeah,
it's
actually specific to Virginia.
Okay, and that's interesting because that's where Second Amendment and the Constitution was written, the right to bear arms.
Alright, so there are regulations in place that make it more difficult for criminals and mentally challenged to obtain guns. Let's look at the history of guns and the tragedies that we faced in the past and why this topic is actually coming up today.
So, obviously, guns in America are so accessible that a lot of the times it has led to trouble. There was an incident back in 91 where a graduate student at University of Iowa was really angry about not getting the academic honor. So he just walked into school, killed 4 people, including teachers and the person who got the academic honor, and himself. It feels like people are just really, they get angry about something and they just decide to take it out, through a shooting. And, obviously more recently, during the past couple of years, there have been more shootings. In 2012, there was a man who walked into Accent Cengage Systems, which was a business that he was fired from, and he shot 4 people, and he shot himself afterwards, and this was actually Minnesota's deadliest workplace shooting. So again, this guy was really, really angry, and so he just walks into the place that he was fired from, and he decides to go on a shooting spree.
When we're actually hearing about these past events, which bring up the issue of gun control, we're actually looking at mentally insane people, I guess. So, looking at Sandy Hooks, where he goes into elementary school.
Right.
He goes into a classroom and shoots kids just on sight. Or what happened here at SMC recently, where he comes into the library just because he's on an angry rampage. It seems that these people do not have self-control of their anger, or they just do not have any care for human life around us. Maybe gun control regulations are something that we should be considering. Maybe guns are too easily accessible for anyone to pick up.
It does feel like that it's becoming just too easy for anybody to just come take and go on a shooting spree whenever they feel angry.
But there's also the argument, I'm sure many people will make this, that if people want to obtain a weapon or obtain any sort of firearm, they're going to go about doing it, whether it be the black market. It doesn't matter. If they want to get their hands on it, they will. And then if that's the case, then why is it that they should be taking the right away from the people that aren't insane and people who may have firearms to protect themselves from people like this? And I think that's where the big issue comes from, because now people aren't supposed to protect themselves, even though these people who want to go on these mass killings and shootings, they're still going to find a way to do so.
I actually have an interesting study. In 2010, there were 11,000 gun murders, and this is actually a decrease. And 11,000 sounds like a lot, but the number has been decreasing. There's around 50 million guns that are in the households of Americans. If you take that into account, there are about 50,000 non-fatal accidents and 20,000 gun suicides. That's 0.0028% of guns that are out there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some more statistics on top of yours. So in 1987, Florida passed a law that gave its citizens a license to carry concealed weapons in public if you were at least 21 or a veteran in the military. Now this was obviously very controversial, and 20 years have passed since that law, and it's actually proved in favor of that law, and other states have enacted similar laws, also showing positive feedback. And just to add on, based on the U.S. Department of Justice, of the 5,340,000 violent crimes committed in 2008, 436,000 or 8% of those were committed by offenders with a gun. Now, based on another statistic by the Journal of Quantitative Criminology, U.S. citizens use guns to defend themselves and other crimes from at least 989,000 times per year, and it's rising. Now, what we can derive from these statistics is that civilians protect themselves with the use of firearms more than twice the amount in which a firearm is used to commit a violent crime. In that aspect, fighting fire with fire has proven its efficiency in decreasing the threat caused by firearms by more than half.
Maybe gun control is perfect the way it is right now. Why would we be denying the right for normal people out there in America the right of guns? It is already regulated so that criminals and mentally insane aren't able to get guns. What more can we do to regulate this?
I think you have a pretty good point. I think that it's kind of, as far as educating people go, especially if you have kids and stuff like that, is very important. Because unfortunately, guns, even if you have them for protection, can end in a tragic situation. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea for the government to try to control and put more regulations on it or make guns harder to get for people who are perfectly fine and won't go out and kill people. Because now you're just taking protection away from them and basically leaving them kind of just out to dry. I'd much rather be safe than sorry personally. And I know that if someone were to come in my home or endanger my family, I would at least have the right to be able to protect my family and protect myself. But callers and listeners, we would love to hear what you guys have to say. Your thoughts about gun control, these gun issues, whether it be police, the actual regulations, stuff like that. We're going to go to Britney real quick with the traffic. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jaloni. This is Britney, reporting the traffic in Los Angeles. Slow traffic in Los Angeles on South Pasadena Avenue between the 210 and California Boulevard. Slow traffic, about a 1-minute delay in downtown LA on the 110 northbound between I-10 and 5th Street. There is an accident with 2 lanes blocked on the 91 eastbound between Tyler Street and Van Burden Road. And here's your weather report. Today we have a high of 75 and a low of 68. It looks like a good day to hit the beach. And I'm now just getting reports of a shooting in Culver City by Venice and Robertson. Watch out, guys, and stay safe. And stay tuned in for further reports. This is Britney reporting from SMC Radio. And now back to you guys in the studio.
So if you've been listening on the air and you have any opinions, questions, or comments, make sure you tweet us at SMC Radio 10 with the hashtag SSMC Crew. We would love to hear anything you have to say to us.